Welcome to The Ordinary American. It is Monday, the 4th of May. If you had a chance to watch the Kentucky Derby, what a race. The horse came from last place halfway through the race. All right, this is a great show for you today. My name's Paul Sarkis. This is The Ordinary American. We are an anti-leftist show, which is becoming, unfortunately, more and more needed to get these messages out there. Because we're anti-leftist, we are anti-Democrat. John Fetterman is now, I think he's late to this, but I'm happy somebody's saying that. He's saying that the Democrat Party is at risk of being taken over by the communists. I think they've already been taken over. Friday's show really got a great response. What I was trying to do was I'm trying to show that the mayor's race in Los Angeles, while a seemingly, relatively small office compared to what the president's doing, what Trump is doing, is actually extremely meaningful. It is sort of a proxy fight for the left versus the right. It's a proxy fight for corruption being stamped out or corruption being allowed to continue to flourish. It is a proxy fight for sort of everything that Trump has been doing. And it is a very interesting fight because this guy, Spencer Pratt, if you haven't been following it, I'd encourage you to watch the episode. We go through some details. We're going to do some more today. He was a reality TV guy back 20 or so years ago. As he points out, when the current mayor Idiot Bass, was studying up with the communists in Cuba, learning how to do bombs and take down America, Spencer Pratt was on a reality show. I'll take that any day. And now he got fed up because his house burned down and he lost everything in the fires that were preventable. And he started to speak up. And he gained a huge voice and a huge audience. And now he's running for mayor. The mayor's race is June 2nd. June 2nd. Everybody in LA should vote. Listen, if Spencer Pratt doesn't win 90% of the vote on June 2nd, whatever the delta, whatever the difference between 90% and whatever he gets, all of those people, it's either total corruption in the election system or those people are mentally defective. You can't live in Los Angeles right now and be thinking, you got to keep the same crew that's in there now, or we need more leftism. Okay? This is a battle between the left and the right. There's two things I haven't heard anybody talking about that make this race extremely important. The first is that if Pratt can win, we're going to show you a few clips, a newish ad that came out that did a great job at mocking these idiots on the left. But if Pratt can win, what's going to happen is just like we've seen with Trump. It took Trump 2 terms, but he understood then what was going on in the federal government and he had access to all the documents. We are constantly hearing from Kash Patel and others that they found documents because the federal government is paper heavy, or that we discovered testimonies that were classified that said things that were obviously leading to corruption, or in this case, in the case of Trump, to the coup attempt against him. So once he got back into office, as now his people have access to all those documents, you're seeing what you're seeing. It's the same thing at the CDC with Robert Kennedy. He fought them for decades. He knows the documents they have that they were hiding from him. Now we can just go get them. And now he's showing them to us. Okay, full disclosures. If Pratt gets in, he's going to have access to all of the files, all of the corruption. And he's already said he's going to bring in the CDC and others. He's going to bring in the IRS. That's, a sore subject. I'll talk about that another day because the IRS hasn't exposed any of these nonprofits for violating the rules, for not filing the right forms, for stealing our money. Anyways, I got sidetracked. Spencer Pratt is going to be able to bring in the federal government, DOJ, etc., to really expose and stamp out and root out all of that corruption. That's one thing. The second most important thing is there is going to be a massive contrast. The great Dan Bongino talks all the time about the value of contrast in politics. This is me, this is the other guy. we're going to be able to see, because it's going to be just like Bukele has done down in El Salvador. He keeps on putting out these great videos where he shows a before and after, and how beautiful the various parts of his country are now and how awful they were before. We're going to have decades worth of material once Pratt gets in there. And as life gets better for everybody, even the people who didn't vote for him are going to wake up. So those are two major things. All right, I was going to start with one of my favorite topics, Trump's Truth Social account, but I'm not. I'm going to start with this ad, because one of the things that Pratt is doing really well, and all of Republicans can learn from this, is he is mocking them. Okay? Watch this ad. Let me see if I can blow this up so we can really play it.
I live here, losers. I'm a socialist multimillionaire.
Together we destroyed the city, while you work hard all day and pay the highest taxes. We go to fancy cocktail parties.
We are both communists that let this city turn to shit.
Vote for one of us, and Los Angeles is fucked.
All right, pardon the bad language, but that is a critically important aspect. This is a tool from the left. Saul Alinsky, I'm not going to go into great detail, but he was a leftist who really put down in his book Rules for Radicals how to use media basically to take power. And one of them is you have to mock your opponent. That's what's happening right there. Okay? There are other ads like this. There are other ads like this, and it is great. You have to mock them because they're mockable. Okay? Because they're mockable. And it is gaining traction. He's doing an unbelievable job. He's a great campaigner. If you haven't seen any of his ads or his stuff, I've played them on my show. I'd highly encourage you to watch them. But he's a great campaigner. The way that the jungle primary works is if you get 50.1% or just over 50% in the primary on June 2nd, the race is over. There's a bunch of people out there trying to get super cute, or as my mom used to say, too cute by half, with this strategy, saying the reason why the Democrats have both Bass and Rahman in the race is to take votes away from Pratt. So let's vote heavy on one of them, let Pratt get some votes and become second, and then they'll have a runoff. He put out an X post about that saying, don't do that, just vote for me. I would encourage everybody, listen to Pratt. Forget about all that fancy stuff, too cute by half. Just go in massive numbers. Dan Bongino has the 10-10-10 idea. Talk to 10 people, post 10 posts, bring 10 people to the polls. In this case, it's got to be 20 or 50 or 100. If you are a Black American living in Los Angeles and you are not thinking about voting for Pratt, just sit back and understand that you're going to continue to vote for the people who have destroyed your schools. This is not a stat from LA, but I just saw a stat that in Chicago, I believe there are no kids in, I think it was 8th grade, who were proficient in math, reading, or writing. That's complete Democrat control for generations. There's no more control they could have. Black Angelenos, what more control could the Democrats have to fix schools in your communities or help crime in your communities? What more power could they have? They have it all. City council, mayor, everything. The title of the show, Stop Falling for It. Stop falling for it. Everybody in LA, stop falling for this. They aren't going to fix anything. If they were going to fix something, they would have already fixed it. It's not like they need just a little bit more power and then they can fix it. Okay? Critically important. Hispanic Angelenos, same thing. Bring everybody, overwhelm the system. just like we all did when 77 million went to the polls and made it too big to rig in 2024. There will be corruption in this election. You can stop the corruption, or you can have your voice heard by making it too big. Take the day off if you can. Arrange to carpool people to the polls. Get everybody. This is the proxy fight for America. It is not that America needs LA to get fixed to succeed. It doesn't. Trump and the rest of us are going to bring America back. We're doing it. Unbelievable manufacturing data, by the way. Record manufacturing starts, record low unemployment applications. We're taking millions of people who shouldn't be on the SNAP program off the SNAP program, essentially, by the way, just doing what Bill Clinton did back in the early 90s. The era of big government is over. If you're going to get these programs, you have to also be trying to find work or be working. So America's going to get better, and we're going to fix America, MAGA, all right? But it would be a heck of a lot easier if LA was coming our way. Not to mention, and this is probably a thing I should have mentioned in another, as a third thing that people aren't talking about. If Pratt gets in as mayor, and then we bring in the CDC, and we bring in the IRS, we bring in the Justice Department, we start to root out all the corruption, that is going to take up an enormous amount of resources by all the Democrats nationally, because there's going to be a huge trail of paper and firsthand flipping of people who are going to get in trouble, who are going to occupy lawyers and strategists, because there's going to be a huge number of them. How can I say that? Okay, there's a great X account, if I can find it here, which is here. Her name is Peachy Keenan. Okay, don't know her, but I read her stuff all the time. What she has done is she has graciously put together a list of all of the crazy people in Los Angeles government. Let's see if I can make this bigger for us. Okay, who are either under indictment, under investigation. In one case, I'm going to get to that. You can go. All this is on my X account, The Ord American, all of it. Okay, all of these people. Here's the one I wanted to bring: Janice Quinones, $1 million salary plus pension, former head of LADWP. Okay, they would have had something to say about the water situation during the fires. Who didn't give Palisades water, quit and fled last month to her native Puerto Rico to hide from prison. Okay, it is all corruption on the left. Look at this. This is the head of the LAUSD. We talked about this a few weeks ago. The guy had to be removed essentially during the negotiation with the teachers union, scam that is, because he's under heavy investigation. They raided his house in Miami and they raided his house in LA. By the way, a house in Miami for a government worker? Excuse me? Okay, another DWP worker. Here's the sitting attorney for the city. Okay, I mean, this is a CEO of the most corrupt organization in LA, which is really saying something. The Housing Authority. She stepped down but kept her $400,000 salary. How does that work? Okay, and then she has the Hall of Shame. This is more mocking and exposing. LA is totally gone and corrupted. We've lost New York for now. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. By the way, in Friday's episode, one of the shorts that went out where I'm essentially begging Ken Griffin from Citadel, please remove everything from New York. Otherwise, Mondami is going to use you as the whipping boy forever, saying, see, the wealthy people won't really leave. We can tax them. This is the same thing in LA. They're seeing how much they can get away with. How much will you take? Because I love American history, as you know, Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration of Independence, one of the themes from the Declaration of Independence is this notion that we will suffer for very long periods of time because we humans are actually good at suffering. And we'll do that before we'll make serious change. That's happening in LA. I've done pieces before on crunchy moms. There are a lot of them in LA. You've found out already through the process of being forced to get your kids vaccinated. Okay? The leftists don't like you. They don't care about you. You have nothing in common with them. You have good intentions, but you keep on voting for these people. I've already been through the education stuff. If the situation in the Black public schools in America isn't an indication of systemic racism, Democrat systemic racism, keep in mind the Democrats have always been the party of racism. Always. They still are. I don't know what is, but Black Americans keep on voting for them. I pointed out the other day, the Hispanic population nationally is starting to really come around. Close to 50% voted for Trump. In the border communities, those most affected by illegal immigration are voting for Trump, or did vote for Trump. Okay? June 2nd, that's the LA situation. It is a national issue. And we were going to mention it a lot between now and June 2nd. I moved my family from Los Angeles because it sucked. Our cars got broken into right out in front of our house in a very nice neighborhood. And what did the cops say? We aren't going to look into it because it's not really a crime here because they decriminalized everything. The best thing you can do is arm yourself. And if they come into your house, which they will, shoot them. That was what we got told by the cops. That's not very comforting. That was one of the moments where I realized we had to leave. Okay, we're going to transition a little bit, but LA is a example of what's happening in the country, the battle for the left and the right, the genesis of this show. We are anti-leftists. Spencer Pratt has all of the experience he needs to be able to go in there. For any of you who are still clinging to this notion that somehow Bass and Rahman have experience in what? Ruining your city? That's what their experience is in. All right. I get carried away on that stuff. All right. Let's transition a little bit to first to Trump's Truth Social, so we get a little bit of an update on that. I spoke earlier today to a recurring character on our show, Ned from the Middle East, whose name's not really Ned, in the oil and gas business, lived over there for 30 years or something. He was telling me early this morning that the warning that the sirens were going off. He's in UAE. And they were expecting it to get bombed. And then he told me later that they bombed some kind of an oil facility. But he was okay and they were okay. And that the UAE government's done an unbelievable job using technology from Israel, thanks to Trump and the Abraham Accords, to defend against the crazy people in Iran sending missiles to UAE. All right, so I wanted to put this up, because this is not that long ago from Trump on Truth Social. Iran has taken some shots at unrelated nations with respect to the ship movement, Project Freedom. I'll get to that in a second, including a South Korean cargo ship. Perhaps it's time for South Korea to come and join the mission. We shot down 7 small boats, or as they like to call them, fast boats. It's all they have left. Other than South Korean ship, there has been, at this moment, no damage going through the strait. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, will have a news conference tomorrow morning, etc. Donald J. Trump. Okay? Project Freedom, he's basically gone out and said, we are going to make sure that everything goes smoothly if you want to go through the Straits of Hormuz. He is still trying to get to a relatively peaceful decision here or conclusion after destroying Iran's military. He doesn't have it yet. I think he's going to. I'm sure he's as frustrated as you and I are. Okay? So that leads me next to, I mentioned it a lot, the Trump plan, the National Security Strategy and the National Defense Strategy, 2 documents you can go read. They were written basically for lay people. And I use often the great material from Promethean Action. I'm going to play a clip in a second. The difference between the American system and essentially everything that's been going on outside of the American system is simple. And I made a couple of notes because I wanted to try to put this into sort of my version, ordinary American language. Okay? It's really this idea that God made us all in his image, and we're all individuals. We all have different talents. This is why DEI and equality of outcome don't work. But we all have different talents, and some of us can dream up and build rocket ships like Elon Musk, and others of us can be unbelievable mothers who stay home and help raise children who are God-fearing and go on to build families. And we need new and beautiful families in this country. You've got other people who are teachers. You got other people who are who make toys. You got a million things that people can do, and everybody has their talents. In freedom, what God gave us, that's productivity. How do I harness my creativity, my drive, my thoughtfulness, my ideas? I can't do that in a leftist society, partly because the society is too riddled with tension and fear. And in the American system, there's real freedom. And it's freedom generated by a bunch of things. One of them is because we're a sovereign country. No one's controlling us. For a very long time, the British used to call us the dumb giant because they could manipulate us to send our military, to send our young people, our young men mostly, over to fight wars and skirmishes for their benefit. Okay? So think of this idea as the American system. What Trump's trying to do is unleash all of our creativity. How does he do it? He has to go from conflict to commerce all around the world, and you see him doing that. He has to also change our thinking from this comic book Superman Lex Luthor idea. Like there's the superhero and there's the arch enemy. It's like America, Russia was in my day. Forever and a day, always bad. And then China at some point. Okay, forever and a day, always bad. Maybe. Bad, probably. But what Trump brings to the table is, yeah, but we can work with them. And what we want to do is show them that they don't have to try to take over the world. They can have their sovereign nation. You see this in the UAE. They're leaving OPEC. Why? They're a sovereign nation. They don't want to be a member of any of this nonsense. Okay, they just want to produce their oil, and have a society that works. All right, so I'm going to play this clip. It's a little long, so I'm going to stop and start it. This is Susan Kokinda. We played her before. Brilliant. I highly recommend Promethean Action. If you are not listening to them, you should. This is from the great Patrick Bet-David. He had her on his show. This is particularly good, and I highly recommend it because he, like many of us, some of these things that they hear from Susan are new, and he challenges them. And it's worthwhile because it's often where our heads are at. Wait a minute, you're saying Britain's the problem? I thought Russia was the problem. Okay, let's just listen to her talk and we'll break this up.
Press briefing and then in the outtakes from the 60 Minutes show. He says it's only consequential presidents who get assassinated or there are attempts. And he cites Abraham Lincoln and he cites William McKinley. And that's extremely important because those are the probably the most important American system presidents in our history. Now, why do I say that when you ask me about the British? Because if you look at the 19th century and our own the decades of our own founding, there were two systems in the world, and it wasn't capitalism or communism. Those phrases didn't even come along till Karl Marx. The two systems in the world were the American system versus the British imperial system. And the British imperial system was based on power, money, perpetual wars, controlling resources, keeping countries backward so that they could extract raw materials or whatever from them. It was based on free trade. And the American system was based on a different set of principles, which is that your economy is not measured by money. Your economy is measured by what are you producing? Are you advancing? Is your population getting healthier? Is it getting more productive? Is it getting more prosperous?
Okay, that's that concept. Some people are doctors, some people are scientists, some people are mechanics, some people, the Wright brothers, they had a bicycle shop and somehow they discovered flying. Some people don't know the story that the federal government had spent millions to try to fly and couldn't do it. And the two dudes from a bicycle shop figured it out. That's the American system working. That's freedom, allowing those two cats to just do stuff in their off hours or whatever. Okay? That's the American system, and that's what she's talking about. we've been caught up in this, like, these existential fights with the, again, it's like Superman and Lex Luthor, like, and she's going to say a little bit more about that here in a second. I know this is kind of long, but I think it's important.
Does it have more opportunities? And is that a durable policy that is going to continue in the future? Those were the two systems. And by the end of the 19th century, the American system was really the wonder of the world. You had Russia, China, Japan, Germany, France. You had leaders in all of those countries explicitly following the American system. Now, I ask your viewers to think, were you ever taught the American system in school? Of course not. It's been written out. Why? Because the British imperial system recognized it was a threat. One of the things they did is they assassinated our presidents, like Lincoln, like Garfield, like McKinley, by creating an environment, creating anarchists, creating radicals, where you don't necessarily have to, give them the marching orders directly.
That is important. Now, one place where I would love to talk with Susan directly about, because I still see left and right, and what I see how that overlays on what she teaches, is that the British imperial system has used leftism to gain control through exactly what she's talking about, this manipulation. We see this in Los Angeles. We see it. Why do so many people vote for this stuff? By the way, Bass was voted in. Rahman was voted in on the city council. All those city councilors, California was, I believe there was tons of corruption in that election system, but enough people are still voting for them. It's often said you can vote your way into socialism, leftism, communism, fascism, but you got to fight your way out. What she's talking about is they use all that manipulation. And what's the main manipulation? Oppressor versus oppressed. Marxist theory. I've got to create resentment in people, and then I got to torque up their central nervous system so that they hate somebody else. And then I'm going to come in with government and say, I will fix that and crush that person and give you their stuff. Once you get that person in that mindset, that's a very easy thing to do. We see this, by the way, with this idiot Comey with his 86-47, and we're seeing people adopt this now. 4 or 5 assassination attempts. 3 got close to Trump. That's what she's talking about here. Let me see if we can go on a little further.
But you create an environment in which people are out there ready to take out a president. Does that sound familiar? That's the environment that we're in today. But the purpose of it, the reason for it, was to crush the American system from spreading. Because the American system is based on Donald Trump's stated policies. I want a world of sovereign nations, working with each other as individual nations, working out their differences, but based on actual economic development. And if you have a world of sovereign nations, then this globalist financier parasite, which is simply a modern day version of the British Empire, is not going to function. And so they have a kind of feral, hatred of American system policies. That's where it comes from. Then once you sort of put yourself in that setting of this fight between the two systems in the world, you discover a whole lot. If you look more carefully at the role of British intelligence, British policy throughout the 20th century.
Okay, we're going to stop right there for a second. So I mentioned a lot on Forgiveness Friday that Trump has an unbelievably, and I think, unique capacity for forgiveness. He may not phrase it that way. Sometimes it gets phrased as that he doesn't hold a grudge. I view that as forgiveness. He is sort of constantly able to basically forgive people. Okay, so he can say, Putin, is he helping Iran? Maybe, but we're helping Ukraine. But we're still going to work things out. What's he doing? He's going to go meet with Xi this month. Do we realize what he's done to China in the last 3 months? Venezuela off the board, Iran off the board. Those were the primary suppliers of oil and gas for them. All of their Panama Canal nonsense, pretty much off the board now. Cuba's going to go. I suspect we're going to have some serious announcements between here and Labor Day, is my guess, over the summer. Okay, he's still going to meet with Xi. He isn't saying Xi sucks and and he's the bad guy and we're going to crush them. No. He's saying, no, we want to show him that they can do their thing and we can do our thing, provided you're not trying to take over the world. And if you are, we're going to be more powerful and we're going to beat you. So stay in your lane. That's what she's talking about. Sovereign nations, no UNs, no NAFTAs, no NATOs, no OPECs, none of these things. Get out of our hemisphere. Sovereign nations dealing with each other, what's best for us, and avoid conflicts. Let me just see if I think she's got one more point. Maybe not, but let's just sit here. Hold on one second.
Let's just take the crisis in the Mideast. Who created the Muslim Brotherhood? That was a direct operation from British intelligence in the 1920s. And you look at a whole array of different policies, you simply start pulling the string, where you're no longer blacking out this idea that there is a British imperial system still functioning. Once you entertain that hypothesis and you start looking at the world, a lot of things seem to make sense, which is why I think a lot of people respond to our work by saying, oh my gosh, you've put the pieces together for me.
She's right. When you start to listen to her stuff, okay, your mind will suddenly explode and you'll say, holy cannoli, that makes total sense. And by the way, what a better world to live in. Not a world of 50 conflicts and 2 or 3 superpowers fighting it out. No. Just sovereign nations. You're going to have to clip some wings every once in a while. I often say, in the world of men, sometimes men need to, tussle between each other, between friends, between business partners, sometimes. And then you figure it out. You got to not hold that resentment and not hold that grudge because you just got to tussle and then figure it out. That's what Trump's been doing. He's been flexing, bro. I mean, the things he's done over his 2 terms, but certainly in this term, are unbelievable. And yet he's still talking to Russia and China. And by the way, neither one of them have done much around this Iran stuff. This is great news, by the way, for America. Great news for all of us. Great news for LA. Great news for New York. Even though they're leftists, good things will trickle down. Great news for the heartland, for the South. Manufacturing, I keep on talking about, is coming back. I don't have it today. Hopefully I'll have it for you tomorrow. There's some great stats on manufacturing. Trump's policies are working. His plan is working. We need more people to wake up. We need more people to get smart. And I'm going to get to a different topic here because it's important. And we need more people to stop voting Democrat. Voting Democrat is breaking yourself into jail. Look at Los Angeles. Look at California in general. We've been into it. Sergey Brin, billionaire, leaving. Spielberg, leaving. All the tech bros, leaving. Everybody's leaving who paid to turn California and Los Angeles into a leftist hellhole. They're leaving. If it was so great, they would stay. Okay, let's get to schools. We're winding it down here, but let's get to schools. The great Corey DeAngelis. Don't know him, never met him, but I follow his work. He does a ton of work. Let me see if I can move in on this so we can really take a look at it. Inflation-adjusted public school funding per student. The red line is the revenue per student in constant dollars, okay? Boom. Up. The blue line is the average teacher salary. This, by the way, makes a great Bitcoin observation too. Do you see this? Essentially flat. The dollar has been losing roughly 7% a year of its purchasing power. Any good Bitcoiner knows this. 7% a year. So teachers who are supporting through teachers' unions, the left, are really taking it in the teeth because they've only had what looks like an 8% increase over 40 years when the dollar's purchasing power has essentially since then lost all of its purchasing power. That's how inflation works, money printing, okay? Where's the money going? Where is it going? I mean, we're told, the LAUSD just did it, we're told that we got to throw more money. I showed you last week the articles where we spend more money per student in public schools than we do in private. This is more of the theft. It's going on in LA, it's going on in New York, it's going on nationally. It's the theft and the stealing of our money. Okay, that's a great graph. I want to put up one more. If I can get to it, let's see. Yep, I got it. Thank you for sticking with this. Where is it? There it is. Okay, let's see if I can come in on this a little bit. The government school system has become more of a jobs program for adults than an education initiative for kids. Growth in administrative staff, principals, teachers, and students in public schools. You'll notice that the students are the blue ones at the bottom. So they've had essentially a 5% increase in students since 2000, a 10% double increase in teachers, 39% for principals, administrators, etc., and a assistants, and then administrators, 95%. You can see the visual. What's going on here? Are all these people just so untalented that back there we didn't need that many people to teach the students, and now we do? In fact, we know that's not true, because as the stat I mentioned earlier in the show, in Chicago, almost no kids doing math and reading at grade level. And by the way, you can look that up. That stat is everywhere, not just Chicago. It's Baltimore, it's Detroit, it's LA, it's every place. We are not teaching the kids. Okay, so that's, by the way, that's leftism right there. That's leftism. Corey DeAngelis, by the way, he has a great effort within his whole sort of team approach to this, where he is helping teachers realize that they can leave the teachers union under the Janus ruling from the Supreme Court and keep all of their compensation. So if you're a teacher and you like your job, but you hate that the union takes your money through dues and supports leftism that's destroying the schools and the country, you can leave. He's got over 14,000 teachers around the country. Why is that important? One, you're going to get more money, and the money is better off in your hands than the union's hands. That's one. Two, that is defunding the unions. If every teacher did that, the unions would go out of business. They have nothing. So that's empowering for teachers. You don't need government. You don't need anybody. You can just do it on your own. I'd encourage you to look up Corey DeAngelis. You can see him on my X thread, The Ord American. Okay, a ton going on. That LA race is a race for the country. We're trying to get the word out. We got our eyes set on the midterms in Washington, but you've got California, both the governor's race with Hilton and the mayor's race in LA. The mayor's race, if Spencer Pratt can win that thing on June 2nd, there's going to be massive changes for the good, not only for the citizens of Los Angeles who deserve it, but for the whole country. Okay, a great show. We're looking forward to tomorrow. We're trying to bring you as much good, important information so that you can know what's really going on here, so you don't have to fall prey to this leftist stuff. And as the title of today's show says, we got to stop falling for it. Don't let our friends fall for it. Don't let our families fall for it. Keep bringing them information. Send them shows like this. Send them other shows. The Vince Show at 8 o'clock in the morning. Bongino Show, Graham Show, Haley Show. Those are all Rumble shows. But then you've got Patrick Bet David. You've got Joe Rogan. You've got tons of great information to give them. Okay? Send it around. Please like, subscribe, and follow. I'm terrible at this stuff. Send our stuff around. It helps. Make comments. Send us comments. You can email us at The Ord American. By the way, if you see anything and you're confused or you want any guidance, we can lead you to where you need to go. I mentioned Bitcoin only briefly. I really wanted to get into it more. Email us. We'll give you the information. We'll help you start to figure it out. Every American, it's freedom money. Okay, and the last thing I want to mention, because of course it's the most important thing, is faith. Patrick Bet David, I saw a clip of him. He talked about how he didn't believe and he started praying anyways. That's the way to go. You do not have to wait to believe in God and be able to answer all of the existential questions. You don't. In fact, don't. That'll take a long time. But you can start praying. As the great Father Mike Schmidt says, he says at the end of his shows, I'm praying for you, please pray for me. I like to say, not only that, I'm rooting for you, please root for me. We'll see you here tomorrow